Welcome, everybody. I'm thrilled to be sharing some educational videos on YouTube about laser design. One of the things when I first started to get into laser design was that I had absolutely no idea where to start. I started a business 3 years ago, and obviously trying to wrap my head around the laser machine was one thing. But on top of that, I had to learn a whole new program, and Adobe Illustrator was beyond difficult in the start. But I really wanted to share with people that are beginning out and obviously just new to Adobe, and some pointers just to do some basic activities which were really difficult for me in the beginning. So I love to create cake toppers. That's one of the things that I enjoy doing. I do many other things in terms of my business, but the one thing I love the most is to design toppers. It could be a cake plaque, cake topper, whatever. But today I wanted to go through simply making a simple lettered cake topper. Sounds easy enough, right? So open up a new, I just want you to open up a new file. You can have any size that you feel is appropriate. For the purpose of this activity, we're going to probably make a cake topper that's about 177 millimeters in width, or maybe 150 millimeters in width. So we'll just use an A4 sheet, and we're going to create our topper here. So one of the questions I always get asked is, I need a cake topper. It could be a simple name, cake plaque, and the size of the cake is going to be a 7-inch cake. Okay, so what I usually would do, I'm getting quite used to sizings and what I need to do to create a topper. But all I want you to do here is to grab your square tool, and we're going to size out what that cake would look like. So up here in your width and height, we're going to enter in the width of a 7-inch cake. Got my phones going off in the background. So we're going to put in 177 millimeters width, because this would be the width of our cake. 7 inches is 177 millimeters. Excuse me. Now you can see here that this icon, that if it is cancelled out, the proportions won't remain the same in terms of the object that you're using. So it's always good to ensure that you've got that unclicked, so that your sizing of whatever you've designed remains proportional. And that's particularly important when you're using lettering. Okay, so now we've got our cake. I'm assuming that the customer will probably give you the height of the cake as well. And usually they'll say about a 6-inch height, which is 150 millimeters. So when you've got that unticked, uncrossed out, it will change the width. So in this instance, we want to remain different to what we've actually currently designed. So we're going to put in here that we want 177 millimeters in width, and we want 150 millimeters in height. So that's why that's been crossed out. Okay. Now, so this is our cake. So if I'm going to be designing a topper, I've got to make sure that the top is going to be proportional to the size of the cake. This is so important because I feel like a lot of cake designers get this wrong, and it's just so important to the look of the cake and the proportion of the cake. For this activity, we're going to write the name Violet. That's my daughter's name. We use her name. So I've just used the text button, clicked over here, open that up and expand it and write the name Violet. So this is our name here. Now, obviously that's a bit small. I would like it a little bit larger. But to remain proportional to size that we want, we should probably pick the font that we desire as well. So for this one, I think we will pick a nice font. What font did I use over here? Lovely Melody. Let's go back to that. So it was Lovely Melody that I used. Just going to highlight that now. Go over to our fonts and we're going to select Lovely Melody. So to me, if I zoom in, that doesn't look proportional. Probably needs to open up a little bit. Could even, don't worry about the width yet, we'll get to that. It's more that I want the writing and the text to look like it's proportional. This is something that's just even in a small version. Okay, so once I'm happy with the look of the text, we need to ensure that the width of the topper is correct. So we've got 177 millimeters across here. And ideally, I would probably like this to be about 150 millimeters across the width. So we're happy with the way that it looks. So we'll need to untick here to maintain the width and height proportions. And we're going to put in our width, our preferred width, which is 150 millimeters. And enter that in. So if we have a look now, you can see how that looks. Now, it's so strange, but to me, it still looks quite big. But it really is what the customers prefer. But obviously, if your customers told you that they want 150 millimeter width cake topper for their 7-inch cake, that's their desire and their wish, and you go along with it. You can always give recommendations that you wish it was a little bit smaller. It also depends if they're going to use an offset, because that will change as well. So for this demonstration of this cake topper, we're going to do an offset. So if we're happy with the look of this, I've made it a little bit smaller actually. Don't hate me. You can see now that the width is 126 millimeters in width and the height of the name is 88 millimeters. Once we're happy, we really do need to create an outline. So you can see now that each individual letter is now separate. So if I click on the T, I can pull it apart. Okay, we don't want to pull it apart. We want this to be together. And in fact, we want to combine this together. So in your Pathfinder tool here, we want to unite all of these letters together and click here. Okay, I love it. So what colors does the client want? Well, they want baby pink for the top. So we're just going to select the color that we want. Okay, and now we're going to create the offset. So they would like a hot pink backing for this offset. So we're going to go to objects up here. We're going to scroll down to path and we're going to offset path and we're going to select the width of the offset. So this is 3 millimeters. This is exactly what I normally use. That's why, hence why it's already there. But if you wish to change that to any other offset, you can. If I was to change that to 6 millimeter offset, you can see it's a lot bigger. I don't want that. We're going to go back. We're going to change our offset to 3 millimeters. Okay. Now you can see here that the offset needs to also be combined together and united. So we're going to go back to our Pathfinder tool here on the right and we're going to combine the backing offset. And the customer would like that to be a hot pink. I'm just going to move I basically know exactly where to press on these to get the colors I need, but if you have a specific color in mind, then obviously you can enter that in using your hex code numbers, and that's fine. That will work just as well. So you can see here that the V is missing. It's because my backing offset obviously hasn't been arranged. So we're going to go back up to our objects. We're going to arrange, and we're going to send that highlighted offset send backwards. We may need to do it again. Send to the back, and then you can see that V has come up to the front. So essentially what we've got here is, this is our backing offset, okay? And then we've got our text. I have no idea why it's got here. Right, so, okay. Now, I can see here, you can see that that's something coming out. I'm not quite sure why. I'm just going to look into this. Yeah, okay. So one of the great things, obviously, about vector files is that you can correct the curvature of the text. And when you select the direct selection tool here, it will actually tell you where the path is, and you can manipulate and maneuver things to create thicker, smaller, rounded, shaped vectors, and you can change exactly what you need. So it's fantastic. This will be a whole nother tutorial that I will do. I found it really difficult in the beginning to understand what things do. See how you can manipulate and move the vector. It was very difficult for me to understand how that all works, but that is a separate tutorial. But you can see there, if you do select the direct selection tool, you will be able to see the path and the way in which the vector has been created. Selection back to your selection tool, and you can see there that you can maneuver any of these letterings. This is just to let you know that there is a path that's been set. So, okay, we're happy. The next thing is we need to create a spike. Okay, let's just double check. We're going to highlight the whole word again, and we're going to have a look to see what the current width of this is. So look, if our customers said that they wanted it to be 150 millimeters in width, we definitely should stick to what they want. We always send a draft, but it's important that they get what they ask for. So now this is back to being 150 millimeters, and the actual height of the letters with the outline path is now 68.52 millimeters in height. Of course, we can change that, but like I said before, we want the words to look in proportion. We don't want them to look elongated or too short, because that won't look good. So this is all important stuff to make sure that everything's in proportion. I think it was about 50, 68. Okay, now we're going to create a spike. So using your shape tool, you can press there. You can basically select any shape here, but for this purpose, I'm going to use the rectangular tool. And what I'm going to do is just create a small rectangle off to the side here. For most cake toppers, my width of the spike would normally be about 6 millimeters in width. You can have it 6.5. You can actually ask the client if they want 7. Some people like their spikes to be slightly thicker because that's the look and the design and the feel. That's fine. But whatever it is, it needs to be decided at the time with your customer. I would usually unclick this now, because what we want to do is we want to keep that at 7 millimeters in width, and we also want to change this to being 120 millimeters in height, so we can expand our topper stem. Now, it's important that you also find out whether or not this is enough. For a cake like this with the height, it just means that you need to be sure that the customer can lift this up high if they need to, especially if they've got a lot of other decorations that's going to sit underneath the topper. But we're going to leave it a standard 120 millimeters in height for the stem. That's my standard. If they want that to be smaller, they most definitely can have that smaller, and that can be reduced to about 10 centimeters, which is 100 millimeters, and it looks like that. So whatever you feel that your customer requires, you can definitely do that. But for this, I'm going to leave it at 120, and we will have to include our little ending spikes here. So what I usually do here is I just use a drawing line tool, okay? So this is the pen tool. I'll click the edge. Oops, sorry, clicked it on. Ooh, go back, undo. Sorry. So what actually happens if you've got the path showing, as I just did before, and then you use the pen tool and you click, what happens is that it actually removes the path. So that's something I struggled with a lot too. So go back, unclick, unclick your item. So you don't want to be able to see the path. You want to unclick it, go to your pen, and then from one end, try and find the center, click and click. Okay. And now we've got a triangle at the end here, which is part of our spike, and we want to select both of those together. So we've got the top part of the stem plus that spike that we've created, and we're going to combine those together so that now we've got one full piece. We also want this to be the same color of our offset. So we want to connect now the offset path, which is this part here, not the pink part, to our stem. Okay, so to do this, we're going to position exactly where we would like the stem to be. And we're going to shift and select the rest of our backing part. And we're going to combine together. Now, looks like it's disappeared. No, it hasn't. We just need to go back to our object at the top here, arrange, and we're going to send this to the back. So that way we can see our send to the back. Oop. No. Redo. Apologies. I've actually combined them all together. I'm just going to undo. Okay, so make this easier again so we're not confusing myself and I'm not confusing you. I'm going to select the top part of Violet's name and I'm going to separate it. So this way, when we go to combine these together, we're going to ungroup all items now and I can select just these two. Okay, we're going to connect the path and then there you have it. That's our backing part of our topper. We can now connect Violet back up. Now, when you go to move it across, it's currently at the back, so you'll just need to go back to your objects and you'll need to bring to the front, and you'll see that Violet is now at the front. Okay, you can group this all back together by going back to objects and group. So now when you do select it, it will be combined. That's really helpful, especially when you're trying to work and maneuver things. And I would generally send a draft picture to my client at this point and just showing them whether or not they're happy with the topper and the design. When you are doing drafts for customers, it's really important that you keep a draft of an unfinished topper prepared so that you can actually manipulate and change this. What I mean by that is if I was to be sending a draft, I would definitely do all of this, but I'd also keep a copy so that when I'm still in the stages of actually designing, if they feel that they're unhappy with the text, instead of creating an outline, I'll leave another name of Violet to the side before I create the outline, so that if I do want to go back and they want to make changes, I've got that option there, because sometimes you do go back and forth with customers and they're unhappy with the fonts, and then you have to redo everything again. So it's good to have an additional copy of everything that you do to help yourself, so that you're not always going back and reinventing the wheel. Usually customers will say, okay, oh yeah, I really like that. Yeah, can we try another font? So you will try another font and send that through. And then you have to go through the whole process again. Look, I hope that's really helpful. This was just a starter video to get started on making cake toppers. Believe it or not, this would take me close to about 2 hours to complete when I first started laser cutting. I remember distinctly being very frustrated, and I felt like I couldn't use any of the tools available in the panels on the left. I felt really confused by what my objective is in terms of sizing and what I was supposed to do. I didn't even know if I could create my own stems, and I thought I felt so inadequate about creating and inventing the wheel. But realistically, there's no reason to have to purchase basic things like stems online or SVG files. You can create everything slowly but surely when you start to get more familiar with the program. And that's probably something that I really wanted to get across in my videos, is that maybe I don't have all the technical terms, but I do know how to use Adobe Illustrator. And I've found that it's getting much more easier now that I'm in my 3rd year of learning. And I use this program every day. So I guess it's just, user errors by which way you learn about how to do things differently. I've learned how to do things a lot quicker too. I used to do things the long way. But for the point of this tutorial, sorry, I do have a bit of a cough. I just wanted to make it really easy to help somebody to get started with designing a basic cake topper. So I really hope that this was helpful. Please leave a comment below if you do find it helpful, and please like and subscribe to my page. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I look forward to obviously doing some more of these. Take care. Bye.